watching Bengals Breakdown by Chat Sports, and I am your host, Stone Shields. The 2025 NFL Draft is officially in the books, and it's time for us to give out some grades to the Cincinnati Bengals for the 6 selections that they made. Just a little heads up, doing some solo producing once again here on today's show, so if you see me look down, whatever the case may be, just trying to do multiple things here at once as we progress through today's show. Hopefully, the next video you see after this one will not be a solo produced variety, and we'll be back into our normal flow once we get back into our Cincinnati offices here at Chat Sports down here in Dallas for the NFL Draft. Appreciate all your guys' patience throughout the weekend as I've kind of just been flying solo here on Cincinnati Bengals Breakdown. But help me out, hit that sub button, youtube.com/BengalsTV. We'll be with you throughout the remainder of the offseason and the season as well. Let's break down these 6 picks. So Duke Tobin kind of hinted at, yeah, we would like to get more picks. And no trade ended up culminating for the Cincinnati Bengals. They stayed put. They made the 6 selections they were supposed to make, and that was about it. And I think a lot of people were a little bit maybe disappointed with how Cincinnati handled this NFL draft. And look, I get it. I get the frustration. You're coming off a very disappointing season last year where Joe Burrow gets through the entirety of the season healthy, and you still can't find a way to make the playoffs. So a lot of pressure going into this front office for this draft. And then from a fan's perspective, it feels like they didn't do their best job. They had opportunities to take safe picks, and they didn't do that. And that's why I'm giving this Shemar Stewart a C+. Didn't change from the other night when we did our grades throughout the first half of the draft. Keeping this at a C+. As I've said previously here on this show, this has the ability to skyrocket up to an A+, right? The traits are there for Shemar Stewart. He is the traits guy, right? Coming out of Texas A&M, one of the freakiest athletes that we have seen in recent memory go through the NFL combine process and really the draft process as a whole. But this also could slide down to an F. There is bust potential here with this player in Shemar Stewart, and the production simply wasn't there. In college, had all these traits, had all these pressures, but wasn't able to translate it into many TFLs and certainly not many sacks either. Hopefully Al Golden can get the best out of Shemar Stewart and make this a good pick for Cincinnati and make them all look like geniuses and us look silly for ever doubting that this was a good pick. Look, there were some people that said he could be a top 10 guy. There was other people that said he could slide at the end of the first round, perhaps even out of the first round. So Cincinnati clearly fell in love with Shemar Stewart. They made the selection at number 17. We will see how it pays off. And just a little heads up, that nugget I just said there about Al Golden, a lot of pressure being on him, that's going to be kind of a recurring theme here as we grow through today's show. Another opportunity for you guys to get involved here with our show, here with the pinned comment of today's video. Grade the Bengals draft class for me. 6 picks you got to work with. Let me know what you guys think. How did the Cincinnati Bengals do? A, B, C, D, or F? Be honest with us in the comment section of today's show. And you'll get my grade, by the way, a little bit later on. That'll close out our video here with my grade. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section right now. Round 2. Demetrius Knight Jr. is selected by the Cincinnati Bengals at that linebacker position. And this, too, was a situation where it was like, all right, there's some big-name guys on this board that are safe guys that we've talked about a ton here on the show, and you opt to go with Demetrius Knight Jr. Now, I will say I did have this originally as a C+ variety, and I did bump it to a B-. Now, you got to keep in mind, you got to listen to these coaches speak. I mean, Zach Taylor, Al Golden, Dan Pitcher, they've all addressed the media after these picks, and Al Golden just absolutely raves over Demetrius Knight Jr. So I just preached to the fan base, need a little bit of patience, because what did we all do when Al Golden was hired? We were all ecstatic. We were all hyped. Bengals got their guy to be their DC, right? And then he makes a ton of decisions here throughout the draft, provides a lot of input, gets a lot of players that he wants, and then some people start to turn their back a little bit and say, oh, that's not the right pick. We wanted Al Golden. Al Golden got the job. Now let's see if he knows what he's doing. Obviously, it's Duke Tobin's call, but trust me, a lot of input from Al Golden from these picks. Demetrius Knight Jr., linebacker, played 6 years of collegiate football, bounced around a little bit, played at Georgia Tech, ultimately finished his career at South Carolina. He's a mature guy, real cerebral player, good tackler, things that the Bengals desperately need. And, I think a lot of people expect him to come in and be the guy next to Logan Wilson immediately. And so, similar to the first 3 picks, really, are all expected to come in and start immediately for this football team. We'll see ultimately if that does come to fruition. Dylan Fairchild here. This was my favorite out of the first 3 picks, day 1 and day 2. Obviously, the Bengals had 3 picks over the course of the first 2 days of the NFL draft. And I was in a situation there with Dylan Fairchild where I was like, okay, good. The Bengals at least got somebody that they can rely on. They really needed to address that guard spot. We talked about it a lot. Kind of got neglected in free agency. You signed Lucas Patrick, right? But it was kind of at the very tail end of free agency. All the good players were gone. You kind of signed him last minute, and you don't even know if there's really starting capability there with Lucas Patrick. But Dylan Fairchild, Scott Peters, of course, coming in to be the Bengals offensive line coach this year. It's a new voice, a new guy leading the room, right, with Frank Pollock no longer being with the football team. He absolutely loves Dylan Fairchild, and this is a guy that played at Georgia. This guy that played at Georgia with Amarius Mims. They were former teammates, now reunited here in Cincinnati. This is a tough dude. He's got absolutely incredible strength, and hopefully that strength can translate to the NFL level. Stuff he does in the weight room really is phenomenal. And this guy's been a part of winning, right? Played for Kirby Smart. I'm always a fan of taking those players that played for blue-chip programs in college, right? Not to say that there aren't all types of Hall of Famers that came from small schools. I totally get that. But if you're coming from Georgia, you've been coached by Kirby Smart, that's like a professional program that you're a part of. Dylan Fairchild thrived with them, and if he can stay healthy, I think the Bengals have somebody for the long term that can protect Joe Burrow from the interior. We will continue with our grades here in a minute, but first, got to give a shout-out to our friends over at Game Time. This today's show is presented by Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Chat Sports. They've got those last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. They got zone deals. Save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats for you. Really love the all-in pricing. Toggling this feature up front allows you to see your total up front so you don't get hit with any of those surprise fees at checkout like some of those other ticketing companies can get you with. Also love the seat views. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy with Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account, redeem code CHAT. SPORTS for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, all guaranteed. Barrett Carter here out of Clemson getting taken by Cincinnati in the 4th round. So kind of felt like in the moment when they took Demetrius Knight in the 2nd round, it kind of felt like they were like, oh goodness, Jahai Campbell's off the board. Carson Schwessinger's off the board to Cleveland with the first pick of the 2nd round. We need a linebacker bad. This class is kind of thin. We got to reach a little bit. Right, it kind of felt like that was initially my thought when they went out and got Demetrius Wright, but then they back it up a couple of rounds later and get Barrett Carter. Do want to make a point of emphasis once again, what is Al Golden's specialty? You better believe it's that linebacking core. And, when the Bengals went to the Super Bowl, Al Golden was coaching the linebackers, and that was really a strength of that football team. So they're getting another guy into that room. Now, Barrett Carter at one point was viewed as he was going to be, the next big thing when he got to Clemson. And they did have solid years there, and then he kind of started flying under the radar a little bit. I think this 4th round spot is appropriate for Barrett Carter. We'll see. Hopefully he can contribute a great deal on special teams, but we'll see what that kind of rotation looks like with the linebackers, right? Oren Burks isn't on a long-term contract for Cincinnati. He's kind of viewed as kind of the veteran in the room alongside, of course, Logan Wilson, who's one of the leaders of your football team. But I think Barrett Carter, we'll see if Al Golden can develop him. I think he's a guy that's more of a development player, and we'll see what Al Golden can do. Nobody better to do it than Al Golden. Notre Dame, Clemson, they've had their battles over the years. Al Golden knows this player very, very well. A second linebacker, make no mistake, that is an Al Golden pick. Another opportunity for you guys to get involved with our show here at Bengals Breakdown. Get your favorite pick and your least favorite pick in the comments section for me right now. Let me know. Bengals had 6 picks. Let me know which one's your favorite, and let me know which one is your least favorite. I want to know those names down in the comments. Hit me in the comments section right now. 2 more. Jalen Rivers here. Guard. He can play all 5 positions along the offensive line for the Cincinnati Bengals. He is out of Miami, and I think the Bengals really do appreciate that versatility that he can bring. I view him as a guy that can kind of be that Cody Ford. And it's kind of funny to say because Cody Ford's still on the football team. We'll see if he's actually the starting right guard or if he too is kind of bouncing around or what have you. But the idea here for Scott Peters is to be able to develop Jalen Rivers into a guy that can be kind of a serviceable guy if somebody gets hurt, kind of a swing guy, and then after a year or two can really turn into a guy that, hey, could potentially be a starter for you. But I don't view Jalen Rivers the same way I view Fairchild. Fairchild's expected to come in and go right now, protect Joe Burrow right now, start right now. That's not the expectation for Jalen Rivers. We'll see how he develops. This is a guy that a lot of people love at Miami. He's a great teammate. You hear great things about his football acumen as well and how he carries himself as a professional. So I think the Bengals really have a safe pick here in Jalen Rivers. They needed another offensive lineman. I'm happy about it, but I don't view him as a guy that can come in and play right away. That's why I'm giving that pick personally a C+. Last pick here for the Cincinnati Bengals, Tahj Brooks, running back out of Texas Tech. Now, I gave this one an A. This class, it's been well documented. This class at the linebacker position is absolutely loaded. There really is no two ways about that, right? The running back position is absolutely loaded. And Tahj Brooks really fits that mold, right? Kind of flew under the radar. The fact that Bengals got a guy at this spot in the draft, pick number 193 overall, it's a ton of value for a guy like Tahj Brooks. And I think it really rounds out your running back room with this addition, right? The Bengals running back room's gotten great news over the course of the past couple of weeks, right? You're bringing Zach Moss back. You kind of knew there was uncertainty there with the neck injury. Was he going to go somewhere else? Was he even going to be able to play football in 2025, right? You knocked the Chase Brown pick out of the park a couple of years ago. You brought back Samaje Perine. Now you got Tahj Brooks that can carve out that spot in the running back room and really round it out. Only question I have with him is the ability that he's going to have from a special teams perspective. He didn't get a ton of special teams time when he was at Texas Tech. Obviously, if you're on an NFL team kind of at the bottom of the running back depth chart, you're going to be called upon to do stuff from a special teams perspective. We'll see how that translates. But I think the Bengals have a really, really good back in Tahj Brooks that kind of flew under the radar for a lot of teams just because this class was just so loaded. Leads me to my grade here for the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm keeping it at a B-. Now, people might be saying, oh, you're ridiculous. That's way too nice. Why can't you be harder on this football team? Because I trust the guys running the show. Duke Tobin needs to get my trust back a little bit more, but a lot of these picks are Al Golden. And it's very clear that they brought Al Golden back, and they're giving him a lot of leeway in terms of the guys that he wants to bring in. Zach Taylor is kind of sticking his neck out for Al Golden. Zach Taylor understands that if things don't go well this year and you miss the playoffs, you're in trouble. So he's relying on his guy, Al Golden. The two have been great together in the past. Several of these picks are Al Golden picks. I trust Al Golden. I trust his ability to develop. First round, I would have went somewhere else just because there were safer picks on the board. The Bengals are rolling the dice here, and I appreciate it, right? If you want to take if you want to be great, you got to take big swings. They took a massive swing in the first round. They could have been safer. They said, you know what, we're not going to play it safe. We're going to go out there and go for it all. Shoot, maybe they got the best player in the draft. Only time will tell. But I'm trusting these coaches, Zach Taylor and Al Golden and Frank Pollock, not Frank Pollock, Scott Peters at the offensive line spot to be able to develop these guys. And if things don't go well during the season, then we can look back on this time here at the NFL draft and say, you know what, they made the wrong picks. But I'm not ready to kill them just yet. There's some things that I would have done a little bit different, but I'm giving the Cincinnati Bengals a B- in this draft.